Hello and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and, frankly, mysterious undercurrents of human history, esotericism. We're going to explore the hidden language of myths, the secrets of the stars, and even the codes written into our own biology. So, let's get started. Let's just jump right in with the big question, the one that really drives this whole field. When you think about the stories our ancestors told, these epic myths about gods and heroes, were they just simple tales for a primitive people? Or were they actually something way more sophisticated? A kind of cosmic code designed to pass down profound knowledge through the ages? Well, there's a name for this hidden stream of knowledge: esotericism. And it's really important to get this right from the start. This isn't about superstition or spooky stuff. Academically, it's viewed as a kind of parallel intellectual history. It's a current of thought that runs right alongside mainstream religion and science, but its main focus has always been on inner, personal transformation by understanding symbols. Now, here's what's so cool about this. The knowledge wasn't necessarily secret, like it was locked in a vault somewhere. Instead, it was hidden in plain sight. It was encoded in myths, in rituals, in symbols all around us. The information was totally accessible, but you needed the key. You had to have the right lens to see what it was really pointing to. It was knowledge for those who are ready to understand it. Okay, so if there are keys, where do we actually start looking for them? Well, our investigation is going to start in two huge arenas: the sacred texts of the ancient world and the silent, predictable cosmic clock of the stars. Let's start with a really radical idea from the early 20th century from the Indian philosopher Sri Aurobindo. He looked at the Vedas, the ancient Hindu scriptures, and said, wait a minute, these aren't just simple hymns to nature gods. He believed they were an incredibly deep guide to the human psyche, filled with what he called secret words, meant only for those who were spiritually awake. And this table just illustrates his method perfectly. Aurobindo basically decoded the whole Vedic pantheon as a map of our own inner world. So Agni, the physical fire you see in a ritual, was actually a symbol for the divine will, that spiritual spark inside of us. Indra, the god of storms, he represents the power of an illuminated mind fighting against the darkness of ignorance. And even the most common symbols, like the cow and the horse, they weren't just animals. They were metaphors for spiritual light and the life force you need to go after it. So if that first key is psychological, all about what's going on inside of us, the second key is astronomical. It looks outward. Some researchers argue that these ancient myths aren't just about the soul. They're incredibly precise data logs of what's happening in the cosmos. There's a groundbreaking book called Hamlet's Mill that makes exactly this case. It argues that myths from all over the world are basically a technical language describing something called the precession of the equinoxes. That's this massive 26,000-year cycle caused by the slow wobble of the Earth on its axis. So when a myth talks about a hero like Samson toppling two giant pillars, it's not just a story. It could be an astronomical metaphor for the entire framework of the heavens shifting as one great world age ends and a new one begins. Now, this huge cosmic perspective has a really powerful parallel. From the grand, massive scale of the stars, the esoteric tradition then turns its focus all the way back inward, seeing the human being as a microcosm, a complete, tiny universe in and of itself. The philosopher Rudolf Steiner described human evolution as this delicate balancing act. He said we're constantly being pulled between two spiritual poles. On one side, you have what he called luciferic forces, this false light that tempts us away from reality, into fantasy, fanaticism, and ego-driven spirituality. On the other side, you have the Ahrimanic forces, this darkness that tries to trap us in a cold, hard materialism, convincing us the world is just a soulless machine. And for Steiner, our whole job is to find the conscious balance right in the middle of those two extremes. Okay, check this out. Steiner pointed to a fascinating physical detail: 20 grams. What is that? Well, it's the effective weight of the human brain when it's floating in cerebral spinal fluid. It's almost weightless. And Steiner saw this incredible lightness, this near buoyancy, as the physical reason we can have consciousness. It's the point where spirit basically triumphs over the raw gravity of matter, making thought possible. This idea of the body as a cosmic map got pretty literal in 19th century America with a system called solar biology. Its founder, Hiram Erastus Butler, straight up mapped the 12 zodiac signs onto 12 different functions of the human body. And the core teaching was something called regeneration. the belief that you could transmute sexual energy into spiritual power, achieve divine illumination, and ultimately create a new kind of leadership to guide humanity into a golden age. So you might be thinking, okay, this is all pretty wild, pretty mystical. How does any of this fit into the 21st century? Well, in a really fascinating twist, modern science has actually started investigating the very experiences that these ancient traditions were describing, looking for their fingerprints in our biology. There's a whole field called neurotheology that does exactly this. Researchers have put Tibetan monks and Franciscan nuns into brain scanners while they're in deep states of meditation or prayer. And what they found is that during these moments of profound spiritual connection, activity in the parietal lobes, that's the part of our brain that creates our sense of self, the boundary between me and not me, it goes way, way down. And the biological result? The sense of self dissolves, creating that exact feeling of oneness with the universe that mystics have talked about for centuries. The philosopher Ken Wilber has attempted to create a modern map that synthesizes all of this. His integral theory says that to truly understand reality, you have to look at it from 4 different angles. You have your inner, subjective consciousness, your thoughts and feelings. You have your outer, objective behavior, what you actually do. Then you have the collective culture we all share. And finally, the social systems we all live in. His point is that you need all 4 to get the full picture. But Wilber offers a really crucial warning. A mystical experience, what Zen Buddhists call satori, it doesn't automatically make you wise. He says that any experience you have is always filtered through your current level of psychological maturity. So if you're a fool and you have a profound spiritual awakening, you don't magically become a sage. You just become a fool who thinks he's God. It's a powerful reality check. This all brings us to a final, really powerful way of looking at what all of this symbolism and secrecy was truly about. What if the goal wasn't actually to hide knowledge at all, but to preserve it? And here it is, the key takeaway. What if esotericism isn't a bunch of weird beliefs, but is actually an incredibly advanced memory technology? Think about it. The human brain is wired for stories, not for spreadsheets. A dramatic, shocking, or even bizarre myth is way more memorable than a dry chart of astronomical data. So the symbolism isn't there to hide the information. It's the vehicle designed to protect that information from being lost to the sands of time. And when you look at it that way, you can suddenly see this incredible, unbroken chain stretching across human history. The Vedic Rishi used rhythmic mantras to connect with cosmic truth. The ancient sage used hero myths to record astronomical time. The Sufi master used ecstatic dance to unite with the divine. And today, the modern neuroscientist uses a brain scan to find a rational explanation for that exact same experience. The tools keep changing, but the fundamental human quest, it stays exactly the same. And this really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Modern science is absolutely brilliant at answering the question, how? How does the universe work? How does the brain create consciousness? But this ancient stream of knowledge, it's always been obsessed with a totally different question. Why? It's about adding meaning to the mechanism. And in our modern world, it's probably a good idea to ask ourselves which of those 2 questions we really need to be focusing on more.